Okay, good evening. Hello, hello. How is everyone? Good, good. I'm Colton, Shannon. Live in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, and I'm a therapist there. Worked in Memphis for 5 years as a college and young adult minister at Great Oaks Church, and then we moved to Jackson a couple years after that. Lived in Selmer for a while. So a lot of West Tennessee stuff. But I'm back home from Mount Juliet. So we've been here for over a year now. Yeah, in Rutherford County. So good to be with you guys tonight. Most of my work is as a therapist is with men and couples. Not only men and couples, but primarily that. So a lot of my specialties are in trauma and addiction and a lot of parenting stuff, believe it or not. So really excited about this super exciting topic of how to help our kids grieve well and what to do when we as families or culturally or whatever experience trauma. And it's like, I want to talk with questions for a while. So be thinking of questions, and that leaves me about 20 minutes. So, we're not going to get very far. So hang with me for a few minutes, and then we'll talk. So I think now more than any time in human history, we as parents are expected to train and nurture our children emotionally and cognitively. Like, we have had to become kind of super parents in some ways compared to past generations. Even compared to when I grew up, I was watching Little Rascals, like the 1991 or 2, with my 7-year-old. And about really like less than 5 minutes, probably 3 or 4 minutes in, he looked like he wrestled on the couch, and I looked over because he gets pretty comatose, like kind of catatonic, just doesn't move much when he's watching TV. But so he wrestled, and I looked over, and he's like, where are their parents? Because you remember the movie, like the kids are running around on their own the whole movie. And he noticed, that's how much our culture has shifted. He noticed within 3 minutes that, hey, this is not how we as kids grew up today. And there's a lot of truth in that, that we have a lot on us, and we're kind of expected to be superish parents. And we have this, can y'all see this back in the back? We have this lie. And I see this lie a lot in my office, and I experience this even like emotionally with my kids, that if I have my act together, and I'll tell Chad, y'all can have this PowerPoint if you want it. But like, if I'm organized enough, if I'm eating right, my kids are eating right, if I'm practicing the new mindfulness stuff at home, if I'm spending this is a different font. Specializing your child with one, trying to figure out which path they're going to take by the time they're 4, and keeping them in youth group. All these things, if I get all this right as a parent for my kid, then my child will be successful, will be so pleased with me as a parent that they just can't hardly leave home. And importantly for us tonight, they won't experience as much pain in their life. And I'll be able to help shield them from that, because I've got it together as a parent. And there's a lot of words for this lie that is full of baloney. Because the truth is that life is tragic, and there's nothing we can do about it. And it's very sad. We've all experienced tragedy, and our kids, at a very young age, possibly, will experience tragedy. And some kids that we know and kids that we have experienced trauma. And all of us, in some ways, whether you want to call it trauma or not, have experienced events that our brain has not been able to quite make sense of. It's overwhelming, and our experience just kind of fragments with that memory or that event, like a divorce or fighting, parents fighting, things like that. So this is true, and this is the lie that our culture's kind of feeding us. Winnicott was an old, back in the 50s, child's physician. He came up with this phrase called good enough parenting. And it was kind of an answer to like some Freudian stuff, like everything is a mother's fault. That's what kind of Freud went to. He was a genius, but that was one of his areas. I'm like, okay. But he had this phrase, good enough parenting. What kind of parenting is good enough? And he asked that question, what kind of mother does a mother have to be good enough? And what he found in his research and kind of what he hypothesized is that actually the kind of clumsiness that kids go through in family life actually leads to resiliency. If our kids never went through tough times, they would be weak, they could not deal with disappointment or heartache, and they would not work well in society. They wouldn't be good workers, and they wouldn't be spiritually faithful either. So even our dysfunction in our family, Winnicott said, actually serves, within reason, actually serves to help our kids be resilient. And I need all the encouragement I can find to keep me encouraged to be a good dad. And that's encouraging to me. Like even when I mess up and I go back to repair with my kids, that actually helps them learn socially and relationally. And it helps them kind of add to their resiliency repertoire. So this is something Dan Siegel, he's famous, especially with, he's got a great book with adolescents. I don't think I put it up here. But he has this that he goes through with kids a lot in therapy called SIFTing, and it's a really good acronym to use. I use it all the time with our kids. What are you sensing body-wise? What are your sensations? What are you feeling right now physically? What are the images that are coming up for you right now? What are old memories? What was that like for you? What did you see? What are feelings that you're experiencing, and what are you thinking around this? So I want you to use this for yourself for a minute and just kind of maybe get out your phone. Most of you won't do that, but just think in your brain. Where else do you think? What did you learn about sadness as a kid? So I'll give us a second. An uncomfortable silence. What did you learn about sadness as a kid? What were you taught explicitly? Like what was said about sadness? What were you taught implicitly? What was the narrative? Never talked about, but just kind of like what you learned about sadness. Did any images come up for anyone? Did you think about that? At 7:30 on a Wednesday? Any feelings? Yeah. Yeah, any good strong body sensations? Maybe, maybe not. How do you experience or how do you express disappointment in your home right now? When you get disappointed, how do you guys talk about that within the home? Or for us men, how do you not? How does your spouse talk about disappointment? Like, how do y'all? Careful, okay. How do one of your kids talk about disappointment compared to if you have 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever, another kid? Think about your kids. How do they deal and express in their disappointment? It's kind of fun to think about. Sadness is a really important feeling for us to be actually fostering in our children. Like, I don't mean fostering as trying to make them sad, but they are sad and they get sad. So it's important for us to have some dialogue and communication and vocabulary around it. Sadness is a feeling, like all other feelings, that God gives us. We have feelings not because we're like fallen and outside the garden. We have feelings because we're made in the image of God. Feelings and emotions are not something, the more faithful we become, the less we feel. That is so neurobiologically ridiculous. And it's just impossible. for humans not to feel. If we stop feeling, we would stop caring. If we stop feeling, we would be even worse at relationships than some of us already are. We would just not be great humans. It's so important that we feel. God made us to feel. He has feelings. If you look through Scripture, God feels very powerfully, and it moves him. And we are like in his image, so we have that same thing going on. So sadness is a really honoring feeling. It's a feeling of attachment, meaning relationship. If when we become parents, we are kind of signing up for sadness. Because what's going to happen?
Kids will leave.
Yeah, they're going to leave. That's one thing. And that's one in a gazillion, right? Like when that kid comes out, it's like, here we go. I'm signing up for sadness. And that's, of course, not the only thing, but that is a big thing, right? When I refuse sadness, when I can't tolerate sadness, I become a person who can't tolerate relationship. Because if I get in a relationship, I know for certain I'm going to be sad eventually. So if I can't tolerate it, I'm going to stop relating at a more vulnerable or intimate level or at all, right? And so sadness is that feeling that says, I've lost attachment to something. My daughter just gave up her passy. And talk about sadness, it's like, she's very sad. Because she lost something that she had an emotional, and it's a passy, it's weird to say, a relational, like she lost that relationship attachment. And so it's a big deal. She was very sad. And as a dad, I could be like, hey, it's fine, just go, those monologues that we give, right? And I did once or twice actually, but tried to stay on the path of, hey, this is a big deal for this girl. It's like very sad. And I can attune to that. So it's a sadness that says, I value what I've lost, and I feel pain about it. And that's important for me to grieve and come to some acceptance. It's evaluative, meaning the more sadness you feel about something, the more you're honoring what you lost. The more important it is, the thing that's gone away. And it's accepting. Everything in life happens between sadness and gladness. Everything. Every event. Every new opportunity we have, new work opportunity, whatever it is, we are going to be glad for the new opportunity, and we are no doubt going to lose something with it. Lose time. I got to work more hours now. I'm making more money. Lose memory. We have those memories like you first get married. Remember how poor we were? It's like, yeah, that was crazy. It's like sad too, because those are good times for some. Everything new comes with loss. It's bizarre how God set it up. And so if I can't tolerate my sadness, like if I can't get to it, then I can't really experience celebration and gladness. I mean, this is like the quintessential dads. No dads in this room do this. We go to our son's baseball games, and we can't keep our mouth shut. Or moms, right? So what's going on there? When do you feel most sad about your kid? You don't have to answer, just think about it. When I feel most sad about my kid? Because kids bring up sadness, because I have dreams for them. I know what they need to be. I got dreams, and dreams mean that I care. There's nothing wrong with like what I hope for my 2 sons and my daughter, right? But inevitably, they just don't get it. Like they don't get my dream. They don't line up. Like they're playing shortstop and literally turning around from the plate, playing and I'm like, for the love of everything, turn. It's like, what am I doing? I'm so sad. I'm so afraid, right? Like, get it together. We get into that like fear, control, anxiety, rage territory. Like, come on. We've got to love baseball because I've got a dream here, and I need you to hop on board, right? So when I can't tolerate my sadness that my son may not be in the major leagues, I can't celebrate that he's awesome. And God God made him just the way he's supposed to be. He has a handshake for each player on the team. He's got more heart than anyone out there. And that's how God made him. And it's beautiful. When I lose touch with my grief, I can't stay in touch with my celebration, that my son is perfect as he is. Does that make sense? We get into all these impairments when we can't stay with our sadness, what we hope for, things like that. My mentor told me once, try to say this without tears, Colton, your son does not need another coach. He'll have tons of coaches in his life. He doesn't need another teacher. He'll have a lot of great educators. He doesn't need another boss. He doesn't need another advisor. All he needs is a dad to come home to. That's what our kids need as parents, as mommies and daddies. And we hop into these other roles when we can't tolerate our sadness and can't grieve. Okay? So here's a couple of books that speak to that. And Chip Dodd who's trained me, my mentor. And so a lot of this stuff would be in that book if you want to read more. Okay. Turn to Psalm 13. I want to give you a real quick structure. So for us as Christians, this isn't like, hey, the world's a sad place, deal with it. It's just how it is, so let's just address it, open communication, things like that. What we learn from things in Scripture like lament psalms is that God actually wants and welcomes our sadness. It is an important part of our relationship with God. And we see this with Jesus over and over. He's always quoting lament psalms. I'm certain he had the psalms memorized. And if it's good enough for Jesus, it's good enough for me. Hopefully good enough for you. We need to be in the psalms, I think, just about every day to stay in touch with the heart that God put inside of us. Lament psalms are the largest genre or type of psalms by far, and they teach us so much. So let me read Psalm 13 to you. Okay, it's real short. It's like a really prototypical lament psalm. How long, Lord, will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me? How long must I wrestle with my thoughts and day after day have sorrow in my heart? How long will my enemy triumph over me? Look on me. Answer me, Lord my God. Give light to my eyes, or I will sleep in death. And my enemy will say, I've overcome him. And my foes will rejoice when I fall. But I trust in your unfailing love. My heart rejoices in your salvation. And I will sing the Lord's praise, for he has been good to me. Okay, let's do this. Let's go through this for 5 minutes, and we'll get more. You guys can ask some specific questions if you want. And then if you don't, I'll just keep yapping. Does that work? So, how long? Lament. It's so important for us to be able to walk our kids through lament, how to grieve. Look at this first line. How long, Lord, will you forget me forever? Is specifically, God can't cognitively forget, So it's really, he's saying, how long are you going to be there and be inattentive? How long are you going to be inactive? How long are you going to ignore? And if you think about a lot of the things that your kids are sad about or grieve about or lament, it's going to be in this territory of inaction. And it's a lot of times about us as parents being inactive. You could buy me a Nintendo Switch, but you're not. There's a lot of grief there right now in our house. A cell phone, all my kid friends, that stuff. You could homeschool me, but you're too lazy to do the work. I hear that in therapy. Those kids said. why does God not fill in the blank? We hear this, especially in teens, adults, all of us. How is Haiti having another earthquake? Where is God? Or grandma's health, or whatever it is. There's a lot of lament in kids, sadness around inactivity, perceived. It's perceived. I'm not saying God's not. It's perceived. Where are you? Second line, how long will you hide your face from me? Hide your face as opposed to like other psalms, like Psalm 80, turn your face towards me. What is that? That song, make your face shine upon us so that we may be saved. That kind of turning your face. And this psalm's like, how long are you going to hide your face? Faces are how humans connect. It's how we soothe ourselves and relate. What did Moses want to see of God? Face, right? That's just how we attach to each other. Our limbic brain, our emotional brain, might as well be a cord from mine to yours right now, and vice versa, especially one-on-one. We might as well be synced up and connected. Our brains are moving together as a concert. It's amazing how God set us up. Moms, when kids come out of the womb, babies, infants, they soothe their child with their face, with their voice, with touching and nuzzling, with their breath. We soothe and always have from the beginning with our faces. And so he's saying, like, relationally, God, you've turned your face. There's no connection. Of course, Psalm's not saying limbically connected in their brain, but there's no resonance here. There's no connection. And how often do we hear our kids lament and bemoan relational disconnection? All the time. I know God exists, but I don't feel close to him. She broke up with me today. Dad, put your phone down. We want that facial connection. Even today, I was trying to take a quick 2 or 3 minute nap, and my son's too. He's all of a sudden talking, and he was watching a show. He's like, Dad, the movie's on. Dad, open your eyes. The movie's on. I'm like, I hate you so much right now. He wanted my face, and he didn't. It's like, that's how important faces are. He wasn't even, I had nothing to do with it, but I had everything to do with it. That relational connection was there. Okay? Sorrow in my heart, that next line's about pain. I think we get that more readily. I'm so depressed. For kids, my stomach hurts. Broke my ankle. I can't play ball this season. Physical hurt. Our kids lament that. Our kids lament loss, losing. How long will my enemy triumph over me? Is that fourth little part. How long am I going to be overlooked? How long am I going to be second best or third best or fourth best or last place? This is so bizarre how anxious we get about being picked on teams. It's like all of us, every single one of us. Say you're not, you're lying. Line us up. We're going to have some fear and anxiety about what team, one or two, right? And it's like this elephant in the room that in grade school, we never talked about it. We want to be picked. It would be wonderful if a PE coach stopped and said, what are y'all afraid about right now? But that'd be so bizarre because we're so relationally disconnected from each other, and feelings have become something that is a set aside. And in fact, it's the very thing that relates us. And so we want to be picked. We want to matter. We want to get first. We want to achieve. And our kids don't get it every time. And that's really, really sad. And it's important for us to help our kids grieve. So think about, just in this lament psalm alone, how your kids, even if they're one or two, how they lament in each segment here. This is a really powerful psalm that we can point our kids to and ourselves to remind us that God's there. Okay? So let's, how long do I have? Till 8, right, Chad? Is there any like specific questions that you guys have? And no pressure. I mean, we can do this for a while.
I feel like the balance of knowing when and how long to lament with them, and then when to be like, all right, let's pick ourselves up and move.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we can talk about this for hours and days, I'm sure, but I think that balance for me as a parent is hard. And I mean,
And it's different from kid to kid.
and boy to girl.
And boy to,
I feel
oh,
like there's a lot of,
yes.
like, boys don't cry, don't do, that kind of thing. But then it's like I want to understand. I have a 7-year-old girl, and then I just have a baby boy, so we're not there yet with him. But for her, I mean, it's just everything's so dramatic and long and a big deal for a really long time. And I want to be with her in that moment, but I can't live there. I mean, we wouldn't ever accomplish anything
Right.
if we lived there.
Right. Because your how long is like, how long are you going to keep doing this? I have a 4-year-old redheaded daughter. She's redheaded, and it's like she made herself cry to be dramatic the other day. I watched it. I was like, oh my goodness! I was shocked. I was like, that is impressive, and I was really afraid at the same time. Like, where is this heading? I think a big part of parenting, maybe Dan Siegel, the sifting guy, he probably wouldn't appreciate that. He says a part of our job as parents is to lend our prefrontal cortex, which is our thinking, planning, rational type brain, our adult brain, to lend that to our kids. And I think that's so important. And kind of speaks to that question, like how long and and how do we move on, and how do we accept what we're sad about and things like that. It's so important for kids. Don't have any problem functioning in their lizard brain, like their body's moving and stuff, and their limbic mammal brain, their emotional feeling brain. What we don't get until we're about 25 as men is this up here, right behind the eyes. And it's like being able to connect with our feelings and make sense of them, being able to be relationally astute and available. And so for our kids, for a 7-year-old daughter, what we're looking for is which girls typically don't have problems with, this expression of what they're feeling, where this is a weird question I get. I see it so often every day, it's not weird to me anymore, but where are you feeling that physically? Like what's going on in your body? And then it gets to, look at verse, this petition in verse 3, look on me, back to face, and answer me, Lord, my God, give light to my eyes or I'll sleep in death. So he's saying, help me understand this, in essence. Like, come look at my face, look on me, and open my eyes to this. Give me some vision. What's going on here? And that's what 7-year-old, any kid doesn't have, is that awareness of what is going on. I'm feeling this in here, and I don't get it out here. And that's so confusing. Like, it is so, we're so callous to it. It can be like, it's so sad to have a friend be mean to us. Like, there is nothing worse. And a 7-year-old doesn't have the defenses we have to say, yeah, it happens. Yeah, good luck with that. It happened. Right. Great. I've done that one. It doesn't work because it's too sad. Right? So what am I feeling? What am I thinking? And I'm going to help it make sense in the bigger scheme even with God spiritually. So we start with what are you experiencing first almost every time. What are you experiencing? And then we get into what is true. What is true? The truth is that life is tragic and God is faithful in tragedy, But we would rather say, but God is faithful in tragedy, instead of actually living the lament psalms. We'd rather get to the end and say, but I trust your unfailing love, my heart rejoices in your salvation, and we want to rush our kids through it, or ourselves through it. You know, we don't want to live there. You know, that's a problem.
I think it's, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's true too that if we're not mature in our own understanding of sadness, and like if I'm going through something, and if it's more important to me than my son this afternoon saying, Dad, they canceled, what's it called? They canceled open house tomorrow. And I said, oh man, and I'm thinking, well, I'm glad I don't have to go to that.
Yeah.
but he's like, yeah, and I almost cried about it today, and in my head, and I was walking by, and I should have stopped and talked to him. I was like, that's fine, bud, cry about it. But in my head, I'm going through my own things of the day and stuff.
Yeah.
And I didn't take time to stop and say, bud, you want to talk about it? You know, but maybe is that because I'm not emotionally secure in my own sadness, or evolved enough in understanding what I'm going through is distracting me from what's important, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, or you're a busy dad who's got a lot going on.
Well, yeah.
I mean, even you asking that question tells me that you're not the first to. But the cool thing about kids is they're so integrated with their bodies that you bring that up tonight or tomorrow, he'll remember it instantly, and it will be like as if it was there. That's the fun thing about kids, is they don't get away from stuff as fast as we do. And then when we bring it back, they process through it fast. Like, we expect them to be so sad about something for so long. And 9 times out of 10, we bring it to their attention, we get it up in their memory, we talk about it, they see a safe, secure face on the other side of, okay, things are going to be okay, and then they're laughing, playing, they're off, you know? They're really good at it. And we have to pay a lot of money for that in therapy, you know? But, so yeah, I think, like, to come back and repair, and it can be a couple days later, but hey, bud, I like, I missed you there for a minute. What was your sadness about? Be really good. Yeah.
One thing I try to make sure that we do with our boys is I want to just jump straight to the solution instead of like, oh, that broke. It's okay, don't be sad. Let's just fix it and move on. Versus like, oh, that's disappointing, or oh, I'm sad about this, I'm angry about this, and like talking through it, and then what can we do about this?
Mm-hmm.
But I've noticed that if I take the time to do that more, my 7-year-old specifically sometimes will just jump straight to the solution. It's okay, mommy, we can do this.
Mm-hmm.
And so I, kind of like what Kara was saying, how long do we let them be sad before we offer the solution we already know? And I think that can apply to God as well, allowing us to be sad even though He already knows the solution.
Mm-hmm.
But there's not really a question, I'm just kind of throwing that out.
Yeah, like processing out. Yeah, so appreciate that. It's another thing that's come up when you're talking is it's okay and truthful. Like, we're not going to be able to fix their sadness in a moment sometime. And fixing is the wrong word anyway, but like, they're not going to get through it into some acceptance. And so it's okay to say, okay, I get you, we're sad right now, and here's where you are. We've talked about it for a minute. Let's take a breather for 5. Let's go play outside, change environment. That's not disengaging. That's actually re-engaging their safety and adult thinking, So that's cool too. We don't have to get stuck in it as we talk through it, and come back to it later. Is that cool? Let's close with verse 5 in Psalm 13. I trust in your unfailing love. My heart rejoices in your salvation. I trust in your unfailing love is a phrase that our kids need to be able to say about us. I trust and that word unfailing love is chesed. It's Hebrew covenant love, like I'm not going to back down from loving you. I'm not gonna, times get tough, I'm there. It's a total acceptance. I see who you are, and I'm staying. And I'm going to confront you. I'm going to stand in your way if you start going on the wrong path, but I'm staying here with you. It's that covenant love that God uses over and over with Israel to say, yeah, y'all are doing some crazy stuff, and you'll be punished and have consequences, but I'll never abandon you. No, I'll always be there. That kind of love. And so for our kids to be able to say that to us is so important and about us. I want you to look at this Gabor Mate. I think I said his name wrong. Children don't get traumatized because of their hurt, but because they are, that's words alone. They're alone with their hurt. Not done with their hurt, alone with their hurt. So we get a whole trauma thing, which is really big today. The word is big, but just rest in this peace that trauma is an internal response to hurt that I don't know how to share. Like I'm alone in it. And that's when we're traumatized. And so for us as parents, a big part of parenting is not letting your kid be alone in their pain. I trust in your unfailing love. Our kids believe in parents before they believe in God. 10 times out of 10. I trust in your unfailing love. And we reflect that and give that to them as a gift. And they take it for granted, and that's exactly what we want. You know. Okay, I'm done. Are we done? Let's be done. Thank you, guys.